Hi everybody, welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Lene Gehrig, and today you guys, I have something a little different, something a little fun. This is beautiful air dry clay, Hearty, soft, air dry clay, and also a mold from Katy Designs. So cute, this is what it looks like. And you guys, these come in all these vibrant colors, plus white for blending. Use the mold. You can put this on cards, scrapbook pages. The dimension is so fun. They're very lightweight, very flexible, and so easy to do. I can't wait to show you. This is our giveaway card for this episode, so if you stick around, you'll learn how one lucky viewer could win this card to keep or share with a friend. So come play with us. All right, so let's look at these clay packages. I'm going to show you lots. So settle in with your cup of coffee because this is going to be really fun. So each one of these packages of Hearty super lightweight modeling clay, air dry clay. It's water-based, non-toxic. Because it's air dry, there's no need to heat it. You don't bake it in the oven, anything like that. It's non-toxic, so kids can play with it too. But this is a very adult, fun, grown-up craft, you guys. So let me show you. The blue on this one, it's not the blue of this package part here. The blue is the same of the circle, okay? So that's this color blue. Here's one of the little flowers I made. The red is this color red. There you go. And then the yellow. And then for the green, I use that for the leaves. That's the color right there. And then the white is, of course, not the black label, but there we go. So it works just like that. And then I'm going to show you the packages and the molding. We're going to have so much fun. So I've already, of course, been working with this one. Now, there is an excellent video that Katy Designs does, and we're going to link that on each one of the product pages for this, and possibly below this video as well. But it has things like how to work with it, how to store it, how to condition it, all the basic things that you need to do. And I'm going to go over some of those things now. So when you're opening it, you want to just cut the top right here. You don't want to tear down, because this package, you want to just fold it over and keep it. Air is the enemy of this stuff when you're not, using it. You want to make sure you store it correctly. And so there's kind of a little process. So use your non-paper scissors. Just cut this part of the package out. And then when you've used what you're going to use, you would just take your package and you can fold it down like this, and then fold it down like this, and then put this and all the other packages you folded down, put a little tape on them, and then put it in a Ziploc bag, and then squish all the air out of the bag. That's a good way to do that, because the worst thing would be is if you came back to play with it later and air had gotten to it. So keep that air away from it until you're ready to let your flowers dry. The other thing is they give you this tip before you put it away, that it's got, because it's water-based, just to take a little spritz of water and then just spritz that right on top, right in there, just like that, and that'll help keep the moisture going, okay? So we're gonna start with the white to make this little white flower, and I'm just gonna take some out just like this. And you guys, it's damp when it comes out. That's the only way I can describe it. I'm going to seal this up because I don't even like to let this be unsealed while I'm working with it. It's damp and it feels a little wet initially, and then you start just sort of playing with it and conditioning it, and then the dampness kind of goes away, and it's just so fun, and it's so lightweight. It's like a marshmallow. This feels like a marshmallow. That's what it is. Now I'm going to take some yellow, and we're going to make the little flower center right here. So we've got this flower has quite a bit of texturing on it, and the center is textured. This one has lots of little veining on it, and then, ooh, I got some blue clay in there. I want to get that out. And then the center is just sort of smooth, and that's the same with this one. And then you've got 3 style of leaves. So we're going to get into the leaves in a minute as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is just take out a little bit of the yellow. You can take out more than this, but we're not going to use a lot of this color. And you're just going to take this and condition it, kind of help get that dampness off. And then you're going to take this little ball and you're going to just place it right in the center and flatten that out, just like that. Then you're going to take your white and then you're going to put that in a little ball. And then I found it's nice just to kind of squish it out a little bit and then press it down. And then I also found it was helpful to press it down over the center and not squish it this way or squish it this way, because if you do that, you can see this one. You see how the yellow squished out of the center? That's because I was kind of pushing it that way a little bit. So if you just push it straight down, you should be fine. And then you're just kind of filling in, just with your fingertips, you're filling in the mold. Okay, and it doesn't really matter how the back of that looks because it's going to be face down. And then you're going to lift that out. And that's easy. And then right here you can see I didn't quite get all of the clay kind of pushed away. So I just took my fingernail. And you just kind of go like that. Here's another little spot. Just go like that. And that's all there is to it. Now you can also shape it so you can kind of move the petals up like that, and then you just set it down and just let it air dry for a little bit. Go. That's really easy, all right? And then I wanted to show you some of the colors that I mixed. So of course, remember your color wheel. This one, sort of a light pink color as opposed to this bright red. Can we zoom out a little bit more? Thank you. And then we've got this sort of pink color and this little red, okay? And then this one is sort of a plum color. And for that one, I mixed the blue and the red to get this sort of plum color. For this one, I mixed the red and the white, okay? And then this orange color right here, I mixed the red and some yellow, here we go, to get this orange color. And then just did the little white centers. And then this is what they look like when you have the little small ones. So cute. There's a little red one, a little blue one. So let's talk about leaves now. So with all these different leaf shapes, here's one just with the straight dark green. And then here's one where I took a little bit of white and added it with the green. And here's one where I took more white and added it with the green. So you could start off with this one, make a bunch of leaves in one color, and then add a little bit of white to your green, make a bunch more leaves, and then add a lot more white and make a bunch more leaves. And then that way you're just using that same green and then you're just lightening it. And I found it was really helpful. I just made a whole bunch of leaves, because I knew I was going to be using those with every single flower color. So I made them in all those 3 shades and just made a little stockpile of them. And this was really fun to do. I just have a little lap desk, you know, a little tabletop thing I put on my lap when I'm watching TV. And I just sat here with my little mold and I just put the little clay in and then they just pop right out. So let me show you how I do the tinting on this. Here's our green. All right, so we do a little bit of conditioning, kind of smoosh it together. Ooh, I gotta close my package. And then we're gonna take one here that's just all green. Put it in here just like this. And then when you're just dealing with one color and you don't have a flower center or anything, I found that you could just sort of take your thumb and you can just scrape off the excess just like this, because you're not disturbing that flower center like we mentioned before. Okay, there's one. I'm going to take another, I'm just going to take all of this actually, and I'm going to take some white. And then as I'm just talking, I think I'll just mix this up. Now, you guys, you can actually take the white clay and you can tint it. You could tint it with acrylic paint, although it does make it more like a little more wet, but you could also use watercolor pens. I wouldn't recommend sticking the pen directly into the clay because that just draws the ink out of your nib on your pen, but you could take it and put it like on a craft mat like this and then roll that clay in that colored ink. You could also use ink pads like this. I'm going to show you this technique soon. All right, so just going like this. All right, so you see now it's getting this different shade. We're just going to put that in here. Oops. Also, sometimes these molds, if they get a little sticky on you, I did read, I have not tried this, but I read that you could just put a little bit, if you're having trouble popping your things out of your mold, you could put dust them with a little paintbrush and a little cornstarch, and that'll make your mold a little less sticky. But I didn't have that problem with this at all. So now I'm going to take lots more white. I can hurry this along a little bit because I do have lots of cards to show you. Okay. And now we're going to take this one, which I probably should put a little bit more white in it. I'm going to go ahead and that. And I find just like blending it between the palms of my hands gets it done a lot faster than kneading it with my fingertips. All right. And then finally, this one in this mold. Ooh, that's really sloppy, Lenny. And then we're just gonna take this and just skim off the excess. As I said, the leaves are pretty much, you know, unless you're making solid color flowers without the center, you wouldn't want to do that with the center at a different color. All right, now you can let this sit here for a minute or so, but I just had no problem taking these right out of the mold while they were wet. 1, 2, and there's 3. And then as I mentioned before, I would do all of one color for the leaves and then go ahead and do all of another color until you have a nice little stockpile of them. All right, so let's move on to some cards. All right, so this one, you guys, this one is a 5 by 6.5 inch card, and I used for the background paper Gnomes and More Gnomes 12 by 12 pattern cardstock. And I first covered my card with this blue solid color and then trimmed down the little scene with the gnomes. I inked the edges using a little bit of cocoa bean, like brown ink, and then using that little blender brush around the edges. And then I just used these colors, the blue, the yellow center, and the green leaves, just straight out of the package. I didn't lighten them or anything. And then this yellow flower with the white center. This is the mold that I showed you that had like the smooth center to it. But I did want to add a little texture to it, so I took my pokey tool. And you can do this well after it's dry. You can go around and just do lots and lots of holes in it if you'd like. And it just gives a little bit of texture there. So I did that on all of those. You can see those little holes. And then to glue this down, you guys, I just used Cosmic Shimmer Specialist acrylic glue. Just any kind of paper glue works really well with this. And I just plopped my leaf down and my little flower, and these stay pretty flexible, okay? You can kind of bend them a little bit, and I just sort of pushed this one down so it overlapped and just glued it down and then left it alone to dry and had no problem with that at all. The little Dazzle stickers here are from the birthday Dazzle stickers, and they come in this 3-pack. Of course, I used the white ones. And then just cut a little bit of the opposite side of this paper, has this denim paper, cut it into some strips, added a little bit of gingham ribbon, and then just glued those up there as well. Really super easy. All right, so this one, you guys, was our giveaway card. So I'm going to talk about how I made it, and then we'll talk about the giveaway. So 5 by 6.5 inches, and the cover of what I covered this card was with our sunflower 12 by 12 pattern cardstock, which I love. It's so beautiful and bright and vibrant, and it looks great with all of these colors of clay. So what I did with this one is I took one of the stenciled brown papers, and I glued about 2 inches across the bottom, and then the rest of it is this tan paper that has the chicken wire on it, glued it across the top. There is a little border in the cutouts where you have this as well, and I inked the edges with that cocoa bean ink. And first of all, I glued this piece right here, and then I glued the border across the bottom edge of it. Then I went ahead and I did my red flowers. And then when I had red left over, I added yellow to that to get that orange color. And then same thing, you guys, I used several different colors of leaves, how I showed you to make those. And you can see here, I just sort of laid down 3 petals and then glued the red flower over that, and then just layered these. And because they just have that flexibility, you can do that. And they're so lightweight. Like I said, they feel like a marshmallow. They're so lightweight, and they have some flexibility. I really like that. And then just layered them like that. Now, when they're like this, you would want to, if you're mailing them, you would want to put something over the top of that, and then you may have to pay extra postage because of the dimension, or include it with a gift when you're mailing it inside of a package, or don't forget, just hand deliver these. But they're so light. There's just very little weight added to this card. Again, added a little gingham ribbon to that. So how we're working our giveaway is we are trying to promote our Paper Wishes YouTube channel. So if you're watching us at paperwishes.com on our webisode page, on this video, if you look at the bottom, there is a little YouTube icon. If you click on that, it'll take you right over to YouTube. We ask that you subscribe to YouTube if you're not already subscribed. And that we also ask you to subscribe to our channel there, and then leave a comment. And then after about a week, we will, I just lost my train of thought. After about a week, we'll come back and we'll say congratulations to one of the viewers who left a comment. Wow, I've said that so many times. You'd think I'd memorize it by now. And then they give them instructions on how to claim their card. These instructions are also written down at the end of this video, and you could probably read them better than I just said them. So we would love to give away this card. All right, you guys, this one, I took all those different colors of leaves, and I just made a little swag, okay? So if you know somebody who has a Christmas birthday around the holidays, this would be a fun one. So for this, my background paper is Christmas Floral Plaids. This is our new one, you guys. We absolutely love this. I love this beautiful kind of different shades of blues and tans for this plaid. And then I used the coordinating solid cardstock on the back, and then I use the elliptical, our 5 elliptical cutting dies. So the first thing is here, I put some of the solid cardstock on the front of the card, and then I cut this paper, this plaid paper, slightly smaller than the card, and then went ahead and took 2 of the cutting dies and just sort of nested them and taped them here with a little low-tack tape, and then it created this little space here. Then glued this plaid paper to the card front and this center elliptical oval shape to the center. So it just made a little window, and then I filled in the window with this shape. So I used this one actually I used this one, and then I used this one. And then as far as these leaves went, I just sort of took some of these and I started like this. I put them like this, started at the end, and then worked my way towards the center, like that. And then just sort of lifted these up and went like this. And then when I got to the center, I put two going up this direction and one going this direction. Let me start that again. So I went like this, and then like this, and then like this, and then there we go. And then to this direction. It's easier when you're gluing them as you go. And this one, and then this one. So we get that sort of swag shape. And then went down the other side as well. So it looks better when you glue them down. And then I just tucked this little tag right in there, topped that with a little bit of burgundy ribbon, and glued that on. And once again, the glue that I'm using for all of this is just Cosmic Shimmer Specialist Acrylic Glue, just paper glue. Okay, so for the last one, you guys, this one is a 6.5 by 5 inch card, and you can see the flowers look a little different because I used water-based ink pads to color these white flowers. Here we go. Here's one, and here's one. Just using the white ink, or white clay. And for my card, I covered it first with Hydrangea Haven. And Haven? And Heaven. And went ahead and just put a strip here, and then covered the center. The little borders we have here are from our colorful oval border dazzle stickers. I used the purple. And the greeting is from our purple collection of dazzle stickers. They come in this large, large collection. And I used the Thinking of You. So fun to have this huge collection of purple right there. But let's talk about how I colored these with the ink. So you could actually color with ink in 2 ways. So let's talk about that before we end here. So I've got my little craft mat, and I'm going to need some white clay. Okay, now I can take this white clay and I can take some violet ink, and then I can just rub this clay into that ink. And yes, it's going to get your fingers purple, but it is water-based and it will come off. And then we're just going to go like this. And then you're going to get sort of a nice pastel color. A little bit of lavender going on there. Right? So you can actually just keep adding more to that, and it's going to get darker. And I would suggest going and adding color a little bit at a time, like I'm doing. If you add too much color all at once, it's going to get really sticky on you. Really, really sticky. Like pie dough, when you add too much water and then it just sticks to your hands, it's just not easy. Okay, and so it's getting darker and darker, but the more fluid that you add to it, the stickier it gets. So you can just let it sit out for a minute and the air will get to it and it'll make it a little bit more firm. All right, so the other way that you can do this is to take your colors, and I used violet and I use orchid. So this is violet, this is orchid. The centers are buttercup yellow, and then the leaves are khaki green. So let's do an orchid one. And I'm going to be using my water paintbrush. You could use a regular paintbrush with just water. And then you're just going to paint color right on here. And then making sure you get into the little cracks and the sides. And if you use like less water, it will be more of an intense color. I'm just going to do half of that there. All right, then just wipe this off on a little tissue, and then you're going to start with yellow and do the center part. Wow, we really can't see that yellow on there. And I would let these dry in between so that you're not bleeding colors. I think this ink pad's kind of dry. All right, and then once that's dry, then you can go back and add a little bit of the orchid around the edge of the yellow. So let's go back to the violet. And then you can just shade just around the center of the flower, just like this, to darken that and give it a little bit of depth. Like that. Really simple. And then wipe your color off. And I'm disappointed that this yellow is not showing up. I think this ink pad is just too dry. You go like that, and then you could just add a little bit of ochre and just water it down a little bit, and then just go over kind of one side of this to shade that as well. All right, so yeah. That's just a really easy way. If you just want to start out with this, maybe just get the white and then just use your inks. And they need to be water-based inks to do this technique. And then you can just paint them. As I said, you could also use acrylic paints, but they are, of course, you can't really control the water in the acrylic paint, where you can absolutely do that with this one. All right, you guys, we have a fantastic money saver on this collection. I had a blast making all these flowers. I think it was really fun. It was something different. It was really a fun summer activity to sit there and just make, you know, a pile of flowers that I could then use for other things. And you don't have to sit here and make them specifically one for every project. You could absolutely make them a whole bunch at a time and then just add them. And that was just a fun thing to do, something different to add to your cards. So the money saver right there on the right-hand side, full color photos listed down below the video, and then all the supplies are listed down below the video as well if you're interested in paper pack or the inks or the ribbons. Let's see, what else have I to tell you? Don't forget, if you're watching us over on YouTube, go ahead and look below the video in the description box, and you'll see a link that will take you to this paperwishes.com webisode page. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.